Hello, Esoteric Nation. Let's continue with our Hobbit exploration. So, the Hobbit, the edition that I have, comes with a map, right? And this is the map of Wilderland. Right? I'll just put it in front of me, right? This is the map of the journey, right? This is the map of the quest. And what I want to establish in today's episode is that there is a map. There is this is a physical map, but it represents a psychological map, right? This is the psychological map that we have to go through. Now, originally the story was written as a children's story, right? It has that tone for children, but towards the end of the book, right, when the journey, the fellowship, right, the journey enters its final stage, it starts heading towards a different direction, right, and this is where Tolkien sort of begins a new. He kind of like pivots towards a different. Dimension of the story. And this is one of the things about creativity, right? When you're a creative individual, do you really know what you're doing? No, right? No creative individual knows exactly how they're going to tell a story. They may have a particular plot idea, or maybe they have the ending of the story. But in how they tell that story, how they reverse engineer that story, is it unfolds as it goes. And this is one of the wonderful things about really studying stories or craft or creativity. Right? It's similar across the board, across all different creative endeavors. Is you work on a project and you have some foundational ideas, some foundational principles, but as you write it, it kind of like reveals itself. But nevertheless, there is a map, right? Every story is unique. Whether it's a creative endeavor or a personal psychological quest or journey, every story is unique, but all the stories share a similar archetypal map. And that's what we're going to be covering today is the map. Every map, every story has a beginning, middle, and end, right? 3 parts. And, this is an idea that is very popularly accredited to an American mythologist, Joseph Campbell, who I'm not a complete fan of his work. But one of the things that he provided for culture is at least a basic roadmap. Now, some people will consider his map to be the map that rules them all. And, I disagree with that idea that all mythologies are the same, right? That all spiritualities are the same. But I will use his map, his model, as a basic template. So the map has the beginning, which in this story it begins in the Shire, right? And then it has a middle, which is once they start crossing the mountains and the forest, and then the dragon, right? Which is the larger aspect of the tale is the middle part, the initiation, and then the last part, the tail end of this journey, is the return back, the return home. Every story has that. Now, what we're interested in is, this isn't just some silly children's story, right? Which has no value to our culture. Which is one of the arguments that, Tolkien scholars and even Tolkien himself delivered, is that, at least, 100 years ago, people thought that fairy tales were just silly children fantasy tales. But I think now they're beginning to be taken more seriously, right? because we have a lot of academic research that not only promotes or endorse the portals that these stories open, but also presents a very logical, philosophical, psychological argument that these stories are valid. And you see this all across various different figures, regardless of the genre. So, the key idea in this episode is that there is a map, right? There's a map not only for the story that someone is creating, but the story that we are living, that we are embarking on, right? There is a map. It has 3 parts: the beginning, the middle, and the end, right? Now, as a creative type, you may come up with various different sort of names for those 3 parts. Joseph Campbell called it the departure, initiation, and then the return, right? Which is very basic, right? It's a basic model. It's like storytelling 101. And in the Hobbit story, the beginning, right? The beginning of the journey starts in the Shire, which is in Hobbiton, the town of Hobbiton. So the Shire is like it's like in New York, like saying Queens, right? So we can call this the Hobbit of Queens, right? So it's like saying Queens, right? Now, Hobbiton is a little town. It's like saying Greenpoint or Ozone Park, right? Which are one of the most popular areas in Queens right now. Or Forest Hills, right? Forest Hills, which I think is best suitable for our story, right? So our story begins in Forest Hills, although that's not where I live. And I'm not going to tell you where I live because I don't want any unexpected visitors. So we have the beginning of the map, which is the Shire, and that's where this story begins. The middle, which is the adventure, right, where we fight dragons and goblins and spiders, right? And then the return, which is where we come back home. We come right back. We come right back to Forest Hills, right? And we share the knowledge, right? It's like we share we can only share the knowledge that we have gone into this psychological adventure and that we have come back. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's an actual physical journey, right? It's a psychological journey, right? It's, there and back is there to the back of our mind, right? Now, sometimes it may be useful to go on a pilgrimage, maybe, right? Nowadays, pilgrimage to like spiritual sites like Buddhist temples or holy temples or holy sites are quite popular. And I think one of the things that does is that it awakens that spirit of psychological and spiritual adventure, right? So by going to these temples in this far, far away, places, maybe Greece, the portal opens. But then when you come back, because you always have to come back, is how can you embark on a story, on a tale that opens those portals so that we can cross over to the other side, right? And I will go into more detail about those other aspects of this journey. But in this episode, I just want to establish that 1, there's a map. 2, there's 3 parts of the map: beginning, middle, and end, right? And my job is to reveal the map in the theater of our mind, right? In our imagination. So see you in the next session.